Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I used to believe that silence was a good sign in a marriage. That when you didn't fight, when the house was quiet and predictable, it meant things were stable. Healthy, even. But silence is a funny thing. It can mean peace, sure, but it can also mean avoidance. Indifference. A slow decay you don't even realize is happening until you're standing in the ruins of what used to be your life, wondering when the floor gave out beneath you. For me, that moment came in stages. It wasn't some dramatic discovery, no lipstick on a collar, no perfume lingering where it didn't belong. It was subtler than that. My wife, Dana, just shifted. That's the only way I can describe it. She was still the same on the surface, same routines, same smile, same perfectly casual, "How was your day?" when I walked through the door. But something in the tone, in her timing, in the way she'd look at me and then immediately look away, it started setting off quiet alarms. I'm not the jealous type. At least, I wasn't. I've never gone through her phone, never hovered around her when she talked to other men. Trust was a cornerstone of how we built our relationship. But over time, I started to feel like I was trusting a memory, not the person standing in front of me. The first time I noticed something was off, we were at her company's spring gala. She's in marketing, works with a lot of polished, overconfident types who think charisma is a substitute for character. One of them in particular, a guy named Evan, seemed a little too familiar with her. He was charming, sure, the kind of guy who flashes his teeth and gets what he wants, but there was a subtle tension in how they interacted. Like they were trying too hard to seem casual, too rehearsed. I didn't say anything that night, but I noticed. A week later, she started coming home later than usual, always with a reason. Campaign deadline ran long. Had to help proof the pitch deck. Drinks with the team. The kind of stuff that wouldn't normally raise eyebrows. Except it was every other night. I asked her once, just once, if everything was okay. She smiled like I was being silly, gave me a kiss on the cheek and said, "Of course, babe. Why do you ask?" That was the moment I knew. Not because of what she said, but because of how smooth it came out. Like she'd rehearsed it. I still didn't confront her. I'm not the blow-up type. Not the guy who screams in parking lots or flips dinner tables. No. I take my time. I think. So I started watching. Nothing overt. I didn't install spyware or tail her car like some unhinged PI. I just started paying attention, really paying attention to patterns. App usage. Charging habits. The slight difference in her perfume when she got home. Little things. Things you only notice when your gut won't shut up. The first solid clue came from a missed notification. She left her phone on the counter while making tea, and when I passed by, I saw a message flash across the screen. So same place tomorrow? No name. Just a number. I didn't touch the phone. Didn't need to. I just memorized the number. Later that night, after she fell asleep beside me, I opened my laptop and quietly searched it. Burner app. Figures. But I dug deeper. The number was tied to a shared Spotify playlist under a profile name, Evan Rising. No last name needed. I knew exactly who it was. They'd shared music. Dozens of songs. And the titles weren't subtle. Sweater Weather. Secret Love Song. Kiss Me Like You Mean It. I stared at that playlist for a long time. Not because it surprised me, but because of how deliberate it was. A private little world they'd built, right under my nose, dressed up as office chemistry and long hours. Still, I didn't rage. I didn't scream or accuse. Instead, I bought myself time. Over the next few weeks, I began setting up the pieces. Quietly. Patiently. No sudden moves. She thought I was oblivious. She'd kiss me goodbye in the morning and disappear for hours after work. But I wasn't asleep anymore. I tracked their meetup spot, not hard once I triangulated it with her car's GPS history and a few receipts she forgot to delete. A quiet bar downtown. Dim lighting. Booths tucked away in the back. A perfect little secret world. Their world. What they didn't know, what they never saw coming, was that I wasn't planning a confrontation. I was planning a recording. And soon, I'd have more than enough to shatter their fantasy and wake up the other person Evan forgot to mention. His wife. There's a kind of satisfaction that comes from knowing more than you let on. From letting people believe you're naive, letting them relax, thinking the danger has passed, while you line up the dominoes in silence. That's exactly where I was with Dana and Evan. Once I confirmed the affair, I expected the usual flood of rage, the shaking hands, the irrational voice in my head screaming to confront her, to drag it all into the light. But instead, I felt something else entirely. Clarity. This wasn't going to be about revenge in the heat of the moment. No, I wanted precision. I wanted control. I wanted results. First thing I did was order a small discreet voice recorder and a hidden camera, things you can pick up online without raising eyebrows. While I waited for them to arrive, I kept playing dumb, smiling, making dinner, asking about her day. I even offered to drop her off at work once, which she declined with just a touch too much force. She was nervous. That was good. They always assume we're too stupid or too emotional to play the long game. But I wasn't alone in this anymore. That weekend, I made contact with someone I hadn't spoken to directly in years, Evan's wife. Her name was Emily. I remembered her from a few work parties Dana had dragged me to, soft-spoken, elegant in a way that didn't beg for attention. I always thought she was too good for someone like Evan. Now I knew for sure. I didn't approach her like some scorned husband lashing out. I wrote a simple message and sent it through Instagram. Figured it was the one place Dana wouldn't see. Hi, Emily. This is probably the strangest message you'll receive all week, maybe all year. But I believe our spouses are involved in something behind both our backs. I can prove it. I'd like to talk privately and respectfully. No drama. Just the truth. She didn't respond that day, but she read it. And the next morning, I woke up to a reply. I've suspected for a while. I'm listening. We met at a little bakery on the edge of town the following evening. I got there early. She walked in 5 minutes late, holding a manila folder that looked just like the one I'd brought. No words at first, just the shared, heavy silence between two people who had been made to feel crazy, until now. I've seen the texts, she said, setting the folder on the table. He left his laptop open one night. I took screenshots before I lost the nerve. I opened the folder. And there it was. Dozens of messages. Evan telling Dana he wished she'd stop pretending to care about her husband. Dana replying, he's just boring now. He doesn't make me feel anything. That one hurt. Not because it was cruel, but because it was lazy. Generic. Like I was just a placeholder in her life, a default option while she chased someone else's attention. Emily wasn't crying. She was focused. So was I. I shared what I had. Location history, timestamps, the burner number, the Spotify playlist. She stared at the song list for a long time. He played these songs for me. In our first year together, she said quietly. He just recycled them. For a moment, we just sat there, both absorbing the absurdity of it. How textbook this all was. How unoriginal betrayal tends to be, once you strip away the drama. We could confront them, she said finally, her voice even. Together. I shook my head. That's too easy. That gives them the stage. Let's take something else from them. Her eyes met mine. You have a plan? I nodded. Here's what I need from you. We agreed to wait 1 week. Long enough for me to install the camera, hidden perfectly inside a phone charger, and for her to bait Evan into talking more freely. She still had access to his shared calendar, so she marked off a few hours for strategy planning, their code for sneaking off to their favorite bar. Meanwhile, I turned our home into a stage. Dana had no idea. She floated through the week like everything was fine, texting in corners, smiling at her phone like some schoolgirl playing grown-up. One night she came home humming. She didn't notice I'd moved the decorative charger to the corner shelf in our living room. She didn't notice when I suggested we go out Friday, and she suddenly had plans she couldn't reschedule. She didn't notice anything. But I noticed everything. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I didn't accuse. I pressed record. The night of the trap, I felt strangely calm. It was a different kind of energy. Not nervous, not excited, just quiet. Focused. Like that stillness you feel before a storm tears everything apart. Dana left the house around 6:30. She had changed her outfit twice. Put on perfume she hadn't worn in months. Took her time with her makeup, even double-checked her teeth in the mirror before heading out. It was the kind of preparation you don't do for coworkers. When she left, I stood in the hallway for a long moment, just listening to the sound of her heels click down the steps, fade into the distance, and vanish with the soft thud of the front door closing. Then I turned to the corner of the living room and picked up my phone. The charger cam had a clean feed. Full frame. Wide angle. I tested the lighting earlier that day, opened the blinds just enough to let the street light cast a subtle glow across the room. If things went according to plan, Evan would be here soon. They never used our bedroom. Too risky. But twice before, Dana had brought him into the house when I was away, once under the excuse of needing to work on a campaign strategy in a neutral space. That was when I knew she no longer cared if she got caught. And tonight, she'd told me she'd be working late. But her phone calendar said otherwise. Emily had gotten him to reschedule. He wasn't good at hiding things. She'd planted a couple of choice questions during breakfast that morning. Mentioned getting drinks with her friends downtown, subtly letting him know the house would be empty. He bit. By 7:10, his car pulled up. I sat 2 houses down in my truck, engine off, phone screen glowing with the live feed. They came in laughing. The camera didn't catch their full conversation at first, but I could hear the rhythm of their voices. Playful, relaxed, too comfortable for 2 people pretending this wasn't an affair. Dana poured wine. Evan took off his jacket like he belonged there. And then came the sentence. You really think he has no idea? Dana laughed. He's not that kind of man. If he knew, trust me, he'd have done something by now. She sipped her wine. He smiled. Harmless. I watched myself be dismissed like a piece of furniture. And still, I didn't rage. Instead, I clipped the timestamp. Emily was standing by, waiting for the message. Sent, 7:22 p.m. Watch your husband work his charm. Sending clip in 3, 2. The moment she opened it, I knew. Because 5 seconds later, Evan's phone started buzzing like it had been hit by a lightning bolt. Once. Twice. For missed calls in under a minute. He glanced down. The smugness melted off his face like ice in a furnace. Hang on, he mumbled. Dana furrowed her brow. Who is it? Emily, he said, his voice already tight. She keeps calling. Another vibration. Then another. Dana reached out to take the phone from him. Evan pulled it back like a child caught with stolen candy. Wait, just give me a second. Then it buzzed again, and the screen lit up with a text preview. How long has this been going on? Evan stood up. Dana followed. She tried to look over his shoulder, but he was already pacing, muttering under his breath. What the hell is this? He said, scrolling rapidly. And that's when Dana's phone lit up, too. Only her message was different. From me. You thought I'd rage. Instead, I recorded. Smile? You're on camera. She froze. I watched her walk toward the shelf. Her eyes locked on the charger. Her hand hovered over it, like she wasn't sure whether to touch it or throw it across the room. And then, she picked it up, turned it in her hand, saw the tiny lens. Dana's face drained of all color. Evan looked up. What is that? It's a... She stammered, then shut her mouth. She knew. I didn't have to say a word. I didn't even have to be in the house. Their little world, built on lies and smirks and secrecy, had just detonated in real time. And I was still parked calmly down the street, sipping my coffee, watching it all collapse on a 5-inch screen. They left the house separately. Evan bolted first, phone pressed to his ear, voice rising as he tried to calm his wife on the other end. He wasn't successful. His tone shifted from confusion to panic in under 30 seconds. The last thing the camera caught was his back as he hurried toward his car, jacket half on, shoes untied, muttering, Babe, let me explain. The door slammed. Dana stayed behind. She paced. She drank the rest of her wine, poured another, and then just stood there, staring at the phone in her hand. I watched her swipe, scroll, reread the message I sent. You thought I'd rage. Instead, I recorded. It was almost funny, watching her mind work, trying to figure out how long I'd known, how much I'd seen, whether this was just the beginning or the end. I could see it all on her face. The confusion, the fear, and most deliciously, the realization that she had no idea what came next. I didn't give her long to wonder. By the time she sat down on the couch, phone resting in her lap like a landmine, I was already walking through the front door. She didn't hear me at first. I made sure to close it softly. No drama. No need for slamming or shouting. She turned when I stepped into the living room, and when she saw me, her eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. I didn't say anything, just looked at her. She stood. You, how long have you? I tilted my head. Let her squirm. Her voice cracked. Whatever you think you saw, Evan and I, it wasn't serious. It was stupid. Stupid. I finally said. Calm. Level. She stepped forward. We never planned for this to happen, okay? It was just something that got out of hand. You invited it in, I said, gesturing toward the now empty wine glasses. You handed it a drink. You made it comfortable. She flinched. It didn't mean anything, she tried again. You and I, we can still. No, I cut her off, voice low. We can't. Silence. She blinked rapidly. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I gave you the benefit of the doubt, I continued. I trusted you even when it didn't make sense. I watched you lie to my face, and I waited, not because I was weak, but because I wanted you to tell the truth. I didn't know how. No, I said again. You didn't want to. She was crying now, quietly, like she didn't think I'd care anymore. And she was right. Do you love him? I asked. She hesitated. Too long. It doesn't matter, she said finally. That's the first honest thing you've said tonight. I set a manila envelope down on the coffee table. Inside, printed screenshots of her texts, copies of location logs, time-stamped video stills, and a draft separation agreement. I watched her stare at it like it might explode. I'm not here to scream, Dana. I'm not here to throw things or beg for answers. I already have all of them. She tried to wipe her eyes. Please. You made your choices. I'm making mine. She opened the envelope with shaking hands, flipping through the pages. Her fingers stilled when she saw the signature line on the agreement. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You're really doing this? I nodded. After everything we've been through? That's the thing, I said, stepping back. You thought we were still going through something. I already came out the other side. She didn't follow me to the door. She just stood there, holding the proof of her own undoing, watching the man she thought would break, walk away instead. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Because 5 minutes later, my phone lit up with a message from Emily. He's moved out. It's over on my end too. Thank you for not letting them win. And with that, the final domino fell. The strange part about endings is that they rarely feel like you imagine. I thought I'd feel relief. Or maybe a hollow kind of sadness. But in the days that followed, all I felt was stillness, like walking out of a burning building and standing in the quiet, watching the smoke rise while everyone else tries to figure out what happened. I moved into a rental not far from where I used to live. Clean, minimal, no shared memories lurking in corners. No hidden cameras needed anymore. Dana didn't fight the divorce. She tried to delay it, called a few times, sent long texts that ranged from apologetic to furious and back again. She even showed up at my office once, mascara streaked and trembling, wanting to talk. But I didn't let her in. Not to the building. Not to my space. And definitely not to my peace. Evan's life unraveled even faster. Emily went scorched earth. She sent the footage to his HR department anonymously. Apparently, it wasn't the first time he blurred professional and personal boundaries, and this time, it stuck. His company fired him within a week. I heard he tried to move in with a friend after Emily kicked him out, but that fell through. I don't know where he is now. I don't care. Emily and I kept in touch, brief, respectful messages. There was no weird flirtation, no trauma-bonding nonsense. Just two people who helped each other see clearly when everyone else tried to gaslight us into silence. One night, she sent me a photo of the final divorce judgment with a single word. Free. I smiled when I saw it. Not because I was celebrating, but because I understood. Being free doesn't mean erasing what happened. It means you stop carrying it like a debt you'll never pay off. The irony in all of it? Dana always used to say I wasn't emotional enough. That I never let things out. She was half right. I don't shout. I don't throw things. But I feel everything. And I remember. I remember what it feels like to be told you're boring while you're the one holding the house together. I remember watching her pour wine for another man in our living room, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I remember the exact second her face collapsed when she realized I'd been recording. But I also remember what it felt like to walk out on my own terms. I didn't need to rage. I didn't need to destroy anything. All I had to do was turn on the camera. Let them reveal themselves. Let the truth do what rage never could: burn cleaner. Now, on quiet evenings, I sit on my balcony with a glass of whiskey and no text to explain. No lies to untangle. No fake smiles to force. Just peace. And it's louder than any revenge I could have dreamed of.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.